What would you do if, in a single impulsive instant, you stepped over a boundary that can never be undone? It was beyond my imagination that I could achieve such a thing. In the role of a devoted partner, I embraced my duties with grace and patience. I was the woman who lovingly prepared lunches, cherished anniversaries, and wore a smile even in the face of the subtle disappointments that marked a marriage dimmed of its former brilliance. Yet, the tempest arrived. Darkness enveloped the space as the power flickered and vanished. In the shadows, with my form entwined with his, I unearthed a craving so profound it filled me with dread. This is the tale of how I deceived my husband with the very last person I ever thought I would desire, my young companion. On that fateful night, everything transformed. The rain poured steadily throughout the evening, drumming against the windows with a fervor reminiscent of an eager suitor. In the distance, thunder rumbled, a deep growl that thickened the air, laden with an unsettling energy that seemed to stir the very atmosphere. In the heart of the kitchen, I stood, hands drying on a dish towel, as the storm outside played its rhythmic symphony, drumming against the world. My husband, Greg, was away on an adventure. Once more, a journey for work awaits, leaving behind a vacant space where warmth should be. The silence in the house was almost palpable, yet there was Jason, my stepson, present at home. At 22, he stood tall, a figure of lean muscle and quiet assurance. The sort of young man who navigated life with an unmistakable sense of purpose, as if he held the map to his desires in his hands. He possessed his father's sharp jawline, yet his mother's dark, knowing eyes held a depth that spoke of untold stories, eyes that seemed to pause in their gaze, lingering just a heartbeat longer when he believed I was unaware. I convinced myself it was all just a figment of my imagination. Then, the lights vanished into darkness, a flash of lightning cleaved the heavens, and the house was swallowed by shadows. The soft hum of the refrigerator faded away, the television flickered to darkness, leaving behind only the rhythmic patter of rain and the sound of my own breath, quickening in the stillness. Oh, what a marvel, Jason whispered softly from the living room. As I searched for my phone, my fingers danced over its surface until the torch flickered to life. The beam sliced through the darkness, trembling in my unsteady grip. The lights have gone out, I remarked, pointing out the evident. Indeed, that's quite true. His voice lingered nearer than I had anticipated. I turned, and there he stood, scarcely a foot away. The torch painted stark shadows on his face, accentuating the curve of his lips and the way his t-shirt clung to his chest. He must have just emerged from the gym. The faint musk of sweat lingered in the air, a primal essence woven beneath the fresh aroma of his body wash. My throat felt parched. Have you taken a moment to inspect the breaker? I inquired too hastily. Indeed. It is the tempest. He shifted, and in the dim light, I caught a glimpse of his gaze falling, if only for a fleeting moment, to the V of my blouse. I ought to have taken a step back. Perhaps I ought to have crafted a clever excuse, retreated upstairs, and secured myself in my room until the dawn broke. However, I did not. And then, I stumbled. A wayward rug, a foolish blunder. As my ankle twisted, I was propelled forward, letting out a sharp gasp. Jason seized the moment, his grip steady on my waist. Yet, the force was overwhelming. We tumbled onto the couch, with me landing on top of him, my legs perched upon his hips, and that was the moment I truly sensed it. Challenging. Indisputable. His body responded before he had the chance to conceal it, and so did mine. Oh, divine assistance, I beseech you, came the reply. Warmth surged through my cheeks, a flutter stirring in my stomach below. My breath caught in my throat as I made an effort to rise, yet his hold grew firmer, anchoring me where I was. I yearned for this as well. For one timeless moment, neither of us stirred. The atmosphere surrounding us crackled with energy, dense with an air of peril. I sensed the rhythm of his heartbeat as our bodies intertwined, quick and erratic. His breath embraced my lips with warmth. I found it enjoyable. And then, the tale unfolds. In that moment, his hand glided up my sides, slow and intentional. Jason, I softly called out. His response came as a gruff breath, heavy with unspoken tales. His hips swayed beneath me, revealing the depth of his desire for this moment. In search of me. I had no desire for it, so I put an end to it. Instead, I bent low. In the shadows, as the tempest howled beyond the walls, our lips met in a moment of defiance. My name is Evelyn Carter, and prior to that night, prior to the storm, prior to the power outage, prior to him, I was a different person. Completely. I embodied the essence of a woman known for her steadiness and reliability. The type of wife who kept track of birthdays, ensured the house sparkled before guests graced the threshold, and made certain that the wine flowed freely during dinner gatherings. Greg, my husband, referred to me as his steadfast support. It was a compliment, I suppose, though at times it felt more like a binding decree. It was a decade ago when I first crossed paths with Greg at a charity gala, held in the heart of downtown Chicago. He possessed a striking allure, the kind that spoke of boardrooms and high-stakes deals, with his salt and pepper hair and a Rolex that whispered of luxury. Then my car, a smile that whispered of unwavering assurance. At the age of 32, I found myself freshly divorced, carrying the scars of a marriage that had shattered beneath the burden of my ex-husband's betrayal. Greg stood apart from the rest. He stood firm, unwavering, and courageous. After a year of sharing our lives, we took the leap and exchanged vows. He whisked me away in a manner that only someone with wealth and self-assurance called opulent. Getaways, murmured vows of safety. A residence in the suburbs where the grass was perpetually lush, and the neighbors maintained a serene silence. And then there was Jason, the stepson of Greg, my own stepson. When I first crossed paths with Jason, he was just 21, enveloped in brooding silences, still bearing the fresh wounds of his parents' divorce. His mother had journeyed to Italy with her new husband, leaving him behind as if he were merely an afterthought. I made an effort to show kindness, to embrace a nurturing role. Yet Jason had no desire for a stand-in mother. He was, however, captivated by the sight of me. Initially, I convinced myself it was merely a figment of my imagination. The way his gaze lingered when I bent to pick up a dropped serviette, the way he always seemed to be shirtless when I passed his room, the way he'd smirk when Greg wasn't looking, as if he held a secret about me that even I didn't know. He brushed it aside, had to brush it aside, because I was Evelyn Carter, the good wife, the stable one, until the night I wasn't. The cracks beneath the surface began to show. Our union wasn't flawless, was ever is. Greg embarked on journeys more frequently than not, leaving me in solitude. In that vast, desolate house, I found myself accompanied only by my swirling thoughts and the sporadic ping of a text message, promising that he would return soon, next month. Once this deal finally comes to fruition, I reassured myself that it was fine. Yet there were moments when I would find Jason's gaze on me from across the dinner table, our knees subtly touching. Beneath it, a stirring within me would twist. It wasn't merely him, 'twas I. The way I began to change my attire when I sensed he'd be returning home, a deeper neckline, a snugger jumper, the way I would hang around the kitchen in his presence, feigning ignorance to the way his gaze followed the contour of my waist. In the midst of my adventures, I found myself dancing with flames, captivated by the warmth they offered. On the night of the storm, the power outage ought to have been a mere blip, a trivial inconvenience. But then I found myself in his embrace, then I was atop him, then I felt him. And when our lips met in the shadows, something within me shattered, his kiss tender. His hands wove through my hair, rested on my hips, drawing me nearer until every inch of space vanished between us. I shouldn't have stopped. As the lights flickered back to life, we separated with the quickness of youthful mischief, hearts racing and secrets lingering in the air. Jason's lips bore the marks of a recent struggle, swollen and tender. His pupils were wide open, reflecting a world of wonder. His chest rose and fell as if he had just sprinted a mile. I averted my gaze from him. I was utterly captivated. Silence enveloped us. What could possibly be expressed? We have just traversed a threshold that is forever beyond our reach. I am your stepmother. This must never occur again. As I hurried to my room, my body still resonating with the echo of his touch, I was certain of one thing. It was destined to unfold once more. A tale woven from a single deception, the dawn following the power outage. I stirred awake beside my husband. The screen on my phone flickers with a persistent light. The flight has been delayed. I shall not return until Thursday. Just 3 more days. Just 3 more days of this. This fire coursing through me, this weight lodged in my throat. This vivid recollection of Jason's lips against my own. I adorned myself with great care. A silk blouse that Greg had gifted me. The very one he claimed complemented the color of my eyes. Black slacks that embraced my hips, fragrance gently applied to my wrists, my collarbone. For my own sake, I wove a tale of deception. In the heart of the home, Jason stood in the kitchen, bare-chested, effortlessly scrambling eggs as if the world outside had paused, leaving behind the echoes of what once was. The muscles in his back rippled with each movement, sending a flutter of tension through my stomach. He spun around at the sound of my presence. His gaze swept across me, measured and intentional. "Morning," he said, his voice gravelly and worn. I ought to have turned and left. Instead, I drew nearer. The inaugural moment. In the dimly lit laundry room, an event unfolded. A foolish setting for a romance to ignite. Amidst the scent of detergent and the rhythmic hum of the dryer, the morning sun spills its golden light through the small window. I had ventured in to retrieve a towel. Jason trailed behind. The door clicked shut behind him, sealing away the world he once knew. Silence enveloped us, a heavy blanket of unspoken words. Then his hands found their way to me, guiding and pressing me back against the washing machine, which vibrated beneath us. Adding to the intensity of the moment, I yearned for it. His mouth collided with mine. More fervent than the night before, more insatiable. I inhaled sharply and he consumed the sound, his fingers pressing into my hips. I yearned for it. Urge me to cease. He exhaled softly, his breath brushing against my lips. I did not. His hands glided beneath my blouse, rough palms brushing against my skin. I leaned in towards him. A sudden thud echoed as the cycle sprang to life. Water surged in, the drum awakening with a vibrant energy beneath me, and Jason wore a knowing smirk. It seems we're not the only ones experiencing a little splash today. I pressed my lips to his chest, laughter bubbling up within me. Breathless, vibrant in a way I hadn't experienced in years. Then his mouth found its way to my neck, his knee gently urging my legs apart, and in that moment, all coherent thoughts slipped away. The weight of guilt, and how insignificant it felt, left me anticipating regret that never arrived. Only this, a yearning that twists within me, more piercing than any embarrassment. Jason traced lazy circles on my bare shoulder as we lay entwined on his bed. His room, oh how it echoes with memories, his childhood room, where the baseball trophies proudly stand, a testament to days gone by, still lining the shelves. You're pondering. It was too loud, he whispered softly. In my mind, I found myself wandering to thoughts of Greg. About how he bid me farewell, his gaze fixed on the screen, never lifting his eyes from the glow of his device. Once, he hadn't laid a finger on me for months. In this moment, my indifference reigned supreme. Jason rolled on top of me, his weight a comforting presence I had come to know well. He playfully nibbled at my earlobe. He is not worthy of your presence. As his hips swayed against mine, I surrendered to the belief in him. In the face of danger, we embraced our wild side, brief encounters during the hours when Greg toiled into the night. My hands clenched in Jason's hair as he knelt between my thighs in his father's home office. He pushed me firmly against the shower wall, water cascaded around us as I stifled my moans against his shoulder. There was a time when we came perilously close to being discovered. Greg returned home before the sun had fully set. Jason scarcely had a moment to pull his jeans up before the sound of his father's key turning in the lock echoed through the room. I smoothed my skirt, my heart racing as Greg stepped through the door. Oblivious, beaming, placing a phantom kiss upon my cheek, he spoke softly, a hint of longing in his voice. I've missed you. Jason wore a sly grin, hidden from view. On that night, tears flowed freely as I stood beneath the cascading water in the shower. As soon as Greg drifted off into slumber, I sent a message to Jason. The moment when the path ahead becomes irrevocable. It was a fleeting moment, destined to fade away. I was aware of that. But when Jason secured my wrists above my head and leaned in to whisper, from this moment forward, you belong to me, I wished it would go on forever. Even if it shattered my very being. Greg found himself waiting as the hours stretched on. His flight home postponed. Alas, the gatherings he anticipated were called off. A detail he conveniently left out until his car rolled into the driveway 2 days ahead of schedule. In the kitchen, I lingered, the warmth of Jason's lips still lingering on my skin from moments ago. As the garage door creaked and groaned, it slowly revealed the secrets hidden within. My stomach plummeted. Woo, Jason's voice echoed from the hallway, low and urgent, weaving a sense of anticipation in the air. As I turned, the sound of Greg's keys jingling at the door filled the air. In that fleeting moment, the smudged lipstick remained untouched, a testament to the chaos of the day. There's simply no tale to tell that could justify the curious state of my blouse, buttoned in a most peculiar manner. As Greg crossed the threshold, a world of possibilities awaited him. His briefcase landed with a solid thud on the counter. With a mischievous grin, he exclaimed, "Surprise!" I conjured a smile. "Ah, you've arrived ahead of schedule." His eyes darted beyond me to Jason, who lounged against the fridge, barefoot and brimming with self-satisfaction. A fleeting shadow crossed Greg's face, leaving it momentarily inscrutable. "You both seem quite occupied." The silence lingered, stretching into an uncomfortable pause. With a sly grin, Jason's expression spoke volumes. Assisting Evelyn with the groceries. Fabricate. The bags remained nestled in the car, waiting patiently for their next adventure. Greg's gaze sharpened, the air was thick with doubt. The evening meal unfolded like a treacherous landscape. Greg observed us through the rim of his wine glass. His inquiries cut through the air, precise and piercing. "Have you completed that report?" "Jason, it seems you've been spending quite a bit more time at home recently, haven't you?" "Evelyn, what adornment graces your neck?" I brushed my fingers over the place where Jason's teeth had left their mark just hours before. In a moment of tranquility, an unexpected twist unfolded. Jason's fingers brushed against mine beneath the table. Greg's fork made a soft clink against his plate, a sound that echoed in the quiet room. "Amusing. Once upon a time, yoga was not your cup of tea, a narrow escape." In a moment of quiet resolve, I began to secure the door to my sanctuary, not to exclude Greg, to prevent myself from wandering down the hall to Jason's room. It didn't come together one night. I stirred from my slumber to the sensation of fingers gliding softly up my thigh. Jason's breath lingered, warm against my neck. Longing for your presence, I expressed. Your father is down the hall, once upon a time. His hand glided upward. It intensifies the heat, the most challenging moment. Indeed, he was correct. Silence enveloped us. Swift. In a state of utter despair. As Jason quietly made his way back to his room, I caught the sound of it. The door of Greg's abode let out a soft creak as it swung open. Still. Soft footsteps glided by, barely making a sound. The bathroom light flickered to life. Let out a breath. Then I caught sight of Jason's phone illuminating softly on my nightstand. A message from Greg. It's time for a conversation, the final demand. Jason chuckled and brushed it aside. He's simply upset that I didn't make it back by curfew, yet Greg's gazes lingered evermore. His inquiries more incisive. Then arrived the morning when he let his briefcase slip from his grasp. Papers scattered across the foyer, a chaotic dance of forgotten tales waiting to be told. As I knelt down to lend a hand, my eyes caught sight of it. Document for a P. I. Recorded yesterday. Decision. On that night, I filled 2 glasses with bourbon. One for Greg. One for me. As he lifted the cup to his lips for the very first time, the words slipped from my mouth. I seek to end this chapter of my life. His expression remained unchanged. It's you, Jason. Isn't it? The glass slipped from my grasp. Greg smiled with a chilling awareness. I've witnessed the gaze he casts your way, once upon a time. The manner in which you allowed him. I anticipated fury, whispers of blame. Not this hushed assurance. He leaned in, eager to share what was on his mind. Depart now, and I shall feign ignorance of your presence. The essence of reality filled a single bag. Jason sat in his truck, the engine humming softly. A moment suspended in time. As we peeled away, my phone buzzed with anticipation. Greg's last chapter. Mark my words. This will come back to haunt you. Jason spoke. He is mistaken. Yet, as our new chapter unfolded, one thought lingered in my mind. What have I done? The air in the motel room was thick with the scent of bleach, mingling with the heavy weight of regret. With a flourish, Jason tossed our bags onto the bed. There was but a single bed, for that was all that existed, and turned to me with that playful grin that once sent butterflies dancing in my stomach. Now it simply stirred my hands tremble. Are you all right? He inquired. He stripped off his shirt as if the chaos of our lives had never happened, with a hearty chuckle. Jason moved in closer. Indeed, and he wasn't meant to touch you. I was. His fingers pressed firmly into my hips. A.M. is a time that whispers of new beginnings, where the world is still wrapped in the soft embrace of dawn. It beckons the dreamers and the doers, inviting them to weave their tales into the fabric of the day ahead. I ought to have distanced myself from him. I did not. This was more challenging than the norm. Fangs and claws, stripped of any facade of affection, only desire remains. As Jason lay in slumber, I quietly made my way to the toilet and heaved. The moment of truth. 3 days passed, and then came Greg's revenge. Initially, the bank announced that our joint accounts were frozen. Then a notice of eviction affixed to the window of Jason's truck. At long last, the email arrived, bearing the subject line, "For your records connections." Captured on security footage, a moment unfolds as I press Jason against our fridge. His hands ventured beneath my skirt. An image capturing my past inquiries. Is it possible for a stepmother to wed her stepson? A message sent onwards to Jason's mother. Your stepson is. I reached out to my wife. Jason's phone erupted with notifications in mere minutes. Mother, what have you created? Coach, your journey with the team has come to an end. Unseen has a tale to tell. Hope she was worth it, you dear little creature. With a fierce determination, he hurled the screen against the wall. What a moment. I remained motionless, my gaze fixed on the final attachment. A finalized divorce filing with one harsh stipulation. The wife relinquishes all marital assets as a result of betrayal. Greg had meticulously crafted this moment. Anticipated its rival. Allow me to step boldly into the heart of the matter. The fissures in the dreamscape. Jason took his first sip of the drink, not the light-hearted brews from the cooler kind. The 5th glass of whiskey before. At the stroke of noon, kindness flourishes. He would bang the cabinets shut, clutch my wrist with a fierce grip, and grumble about Greg being the one to spoil it all. On a moonlit evening, he returned, enveloped in a scent that was foreign to me, a fragrance that was not my own. I feigned ignorance. What authority did I possess to voice my grievances in the dim light of a Waffle House? As the clock struck to a.m., a tale began to unfold. Jason was on his 3rd bourbon when I made the fateful decision to suggest that perhaps we should take it easy. His utensil clattered onto the plate. Us, are you referring to me? Once upon a time, there was a character named Jason. You took advantage of me. He leaned in, his voice a low hiss as he hovered over the sticky table. In a moment of boredom, fate intertwined our paths, and now, here we are, bound together in this unexpected journey. Come on, just confess. The couple in the next booth paused their meal. My throat felt like it was on fire. That simply isn't the case. That's quite a statement. His voice fell to a whisper. Ah, the memories of that grand abode linger in your heart. Your affluent spouse, return to him. If you must, discover if he still desires you now that the truth about your essence is laid bare for all to see. With a swift motion, I splashed my water across his face. He chuckled, brushing his chin clean. There exists the Evelyn I admire, the awakening. As dawn broke, I found myself in solitude. The morning light spilling into the room, casting shadows of the night behind. Alas, Jason's duffel bag had vanished into thin air. There it was, the $300 I had tucked away in my sock drawer, waiting patiently for the right moment to be discovered. His message, hastily written on motel stationery. Others have walked this path before you. This won't be the final chapter. Once upon a time, there was a character known simply as Jay. I found myself in a fit of laughter, tears streaming down my face. Then I reached out to the sole individual who would pick up the phone. Greg answered the first ring. Once upon a time, there was a name that echoed through the ages. Evelyn. Only my name. There is no room for anger. There shall be no boasting. Simply understanding. I shut my eyes. There's a longing within me to return to the place I call home. The silence stretched on as if time itself had come to a standstill, and so it begins. Welcome back to the place where your journey begins. Gaze upon the world beyond your window. I drew back the curtain. In the parking lot, Greg's BMW sat quietly, its engine humming softly, anticipating, perpetually in anticipation, decision. For a span of 10 minutes, I remained in that spot, observing the vehicle, gazing at my image in the dusty glass. With smudged mascara and tangled hair, I felt the lingering touch of Jason's fingerprints on my collarbone. A haunting reminder of what once was. The phone rang once more. Once upon a time, there was a character named Greg. I allowed it to slip into the realm of voicemail with a final glance around the room. I gathered my last belongings, placed the key gently on the dresser, and stepped out into the world beyond. Beyond the BMW, beyond the motel office, beyond all that I had once believed I desired. Greg chose not to follow. He was under no obligation to. Some forms of punishment do not need the weight of chains to be felt. The aroma of cinnamon danced through the air, mingling with the charred scent of burnt beans in the coffee shop. As I gently swirled my latte, the rich aroma enveloped me, inviting me into a moment of warmth and comfort. Observing the foam fade away into whimsical, meaningless swirls, my therapist suggested that I embark on the journey of journaling, weave the trauma into a tale. Yet, all I ever penned was, longing for the house fills my heart, longing for the days gone by fills my heart. He doesn't linger in my thoughts. Fabricate. I felt the absence of both of them deeply. That was the most heart-wrenching moment. My phone let out a soft buzz, a reminder from the calendar. A court hearing is set to unfold at 2 p.m. The ultimate resolution of a union now dissolved. Greg had shown an unexpected kindness. No alimony, yet no lawsuits to be found either. A fresh start. Just as I was ready to hush the notification, a fresh message materialized before my eyes. A recognized figure. Cast your gaze over your shoulder. A wave of unease washed over me. The return. Jason gracefully settled into the chair opposite me. With a confident smile and fresh ink adorning the skin, his hair flowed longer, his jawline more defined. He carried the scent of luxury and the weight of poor choices. Long from my presence, I stood there, unwavering. Awe. It seems you've taken something that belonged to me. I merely shrugged. You took my father's partner away, once upon a time, in a land known as Oz. In a technical sense, the barista summoned him by name. Once upon a time, there was a character named Jesse. And he gave a playful wink as he rose to his feet. A fresh beginning, new name. He strolled confidently to the counter. The college girls' laughter danced in the air as he glided by them. Identical Jason. Varied quarry. Upon his return, he let a folded newspaper fall before me. A page dedicated to the happenings of society. Greg single quotes S momentous engagement announcement. In a tale of love and ambition, the esteemed tech CEO Gregory Carter is set to unite in matrimony with the talented marketing executive Danielle Wright. The image captured Greg's joyful smile. His arm encircled a blonde, half his age. Jason leaned in, eager to share his tale. He had her all set before we even departed. I took a moment to savor my coffee. I understand. For I had laid eyes upon the emails, the receipts from the hotel, the deceptions I had overlooked while being consumed by my own thoughts. Jason's confident grin slipped away. You're not even upset. Oh, I am filled with a fiery rage. I placed my cup gently on the table. Simply avoid looking at him, a wanderer. Jason held back, biding his time until I rose to depart, and then he let it fall. She carries a new life within her. Stilled. Expected in March, he loomed above me, just as he always had. It seems he didn't face any fertility challenges after all. A sharp turn of fate. For years, Greg and I embarked on our quest unsuccessful. He had placed the blame on me. Behold this moment. Jason leaned in, his breath warm against my ear. I have the power to help you erase him from your memory once more. I chuckled right at him. With a decisive step, I made my exit. Through the gaze of the observing patrons. Beyond the barista who challenged me. Beyond the specter of the woman I once was. A message penned with care. A week later, it finally arrived. Rich, textured linen paper. Greg's monogram, elegantly embossed in gold, within a single sentence. I release you from the weight of my heart. There is no signature. No request for mending ties, only forgiveness I never earned. In the wash basin, I watched it go up in flames. The ultimate revelation. The therapist inquires about the true reason for my presence here. Because I selected a boy over my life, I declared. Hold on, breathe out. Letting go of what no longer serves you. For a piece of my soul, I would embark on that journey once more. The quiet lingers. Some confessions stand alone, untouched by the need for absolution. Simply observe. Evelyn's future life revealed itself as a gradual, poignant confrontation with the outcomes of her decisions. Having parted ways with Jason and acknowledging the ashes of her past, she found herself in a quaint little town, a place untouched by her history. There, she toiled in the shadows of a dilapidated diner, where the manager slipped her cash under the table, his gaze lingering on her with an unsettling intensity when he believed she was oblivious. Her hands bore the marks of countless tales, stained with the rich essence of coffee grounds and the remnants of grease. Her nails, once a picture of elegance, now lay in disarray, chipped and brittle. In the fractured glass of the mirror above the wash basin, a face that felt foreign stared back at her. Hollow cheeks, tired eyes, the kind of weariness that sleep couldn't fix. The money barely enough to cover rent on the studio apartment with a leaking faucet. And the neighbors who fought through the walls. Nights spent staring at the ceiling, wondering if Greg ever thought of her. If Jason had found someone else to destroy. The shame curdling in her stomach whenever she accidentally saw their names online. Greg's polished LinkedIn profile, his new wife's Instagram full of vacations and baby photos. Jason's mugshot in a local news article for drunk and disorderly conduct. Her fingers trembling as she clicked away. The past nipping at her heels no matter how fast she ran. Holidays spent alone with a bottle of cheap wine and the TV blaring to drown out the silence. The few friends who still spoke to her tiptoeing around the elephant in the room. Their pity worse than judgment, the years blurring together in a monotony of survival. Her beauty fading into something harder and quieter. The kind of woman people glanced at once and forgot. Her dreams of reinvention crumbling under the weight of reality. Until one rainy Tuesday she found herself standing in front of a community college brochure, her finger tracing the outline of a counseling degree. Something faint and fragile stirring in her chest for the first time in years. The possibility of helping other women who had lost themselves the way she had. The long road ahead daunting but not impossible. Her first shaky step toward redemption, not grand or dramatic but small and quiet. The kind of grace that comes only after you've stopped running from yourself. The future still uncertain but no longer hopeless. The weight of her mistakes still heavy but no longer crushing. The woman in the mirror finally someone she could live with if not yet love.